Hi, I'm Mike Edwards. The company is Home Improvement Doctor Limited and we are part of the DIY Doctor Group. Every now and again, in fact quite a lot, companies approach us to do video tool reviews for them independently. We've been in the trade a long time, we know what we're talking about, and so we test tools for them and tell them what we think. This particular thing is available from Screwfix on next day delivery, and it's an Erbauer Reciprocating Saw. Reciprocating itself meaning going backwards and forwards, so reciprocal arrangements, etc. So this is a saw and the blade goes backwards and forwards. You can hear by pulling the trigger, the further I pull the trigger, the faster the blade goes. Okay. Now that's a terrific thing, having that trigger control, because it gives you greater control over the cutting and the work that you're doing. These saws are particularly useful in refurbishment and in renovation work. You can cut and get to cuts with this type of saw that you can't get to with a hand saw or a jigsaw or a skill saw. And these are very powerful machines. This particular one is the Erbauer 1100 watt, so that's a fairly powerful saw. It comes with 3 blades. The one that's in the machine is a blade for timber, and there were 2 other blades, one for aluminium and one for other metals with a very fine set teeth on that. So it comes with 3 blades. It also comes with a small hexagonal key, or it used to be called an Allen key, and that's for adjusting the depth of this foot, so that if you're sawing down into floorboards, having of course checked for pipes and cables, the foot moves along and allows you to offer a different angle of cut and a different depth. You must measure the depth of the saw at its fullest. I'm going to pull the trigger very lightly so that you can see just how much that moves. So you can measure your depth of cut so that you don't cut into stuff that you don't want to cut to. Now, the reason these are so useful is that, as I said before, they will reach pretty much anywhere that you want to get to. They can be used to cut floorboards on a flat basis. I'm not going to cut into our little bit of worktop here, but you can use them to start off a cut in a floorboard if you're needing to get access to pipes or something underneath. So you could use that to cut down onto the sawboard. That isn't a recommended use for these saws, but they are used for that. They're ideal for that, and regardless of what the suggestions are, nobody will stop people using them for exactly that reason. But I'm going to cut some timber now, but before I do that I must stick to the health and safety rules and put some safety glasses on. And some ear defenders. And I'm going to demonstrate using this saw on these 2 bits. If you'll bear with me, we do like to do a lot of these videos out on site whenever we can, but we don't have anything going on at the moment that would facilitate a really good example of how we use these. So we fixed a couple of pieces of timber up here, so perhaps you could imagine that they're joists that you need to cut off. They're overhanging into an opening. We need to trim a staircase, or we need to cut back for a loft hatch or something. So you can get this saw where a hand saw would be a real nuisance, where it would be quite hard work to get up there to cut the hand saw. So we place the foot against the piece of timber that we're cutting and simply squeeze the trigger. And the weight of the saw does the rest. It's so simple, they're so portable, and surprisingly accurate. There isn't much more that you can say about this machine. Let me take these out because I can hardly hear myself, so I must be shouting. It's superb. Erbauer tools are getting better and better. This is an excellent example of a power tool, and I'm going to show you something. Let me unplug first of all. Please be extra careful of any tool with a blade on one end and a cable on the other. It makes you particularly vulnerable. So always plug these into an RCD socket, a residual current device socket. If the cable gets cut, you'll be protected. A lot of reciprocating saws have an extremely complex system of getting the blade in and out. We've seen some with at least 3 grub screws holding the blade in place. I was delighted to find that this particular saw simply presses down on that clip and lifts the blade out. To put it back in, we do the same thing. Drop it in. You can feel there's a little lug in there. It holds that in place. Let the trigger go, and there we are, solid. That is fantastic, because when you're using reciprocating saws quite a lot, because of the nature of the blade and the fact that it can access almost anywhere, it does get bent. You also, in refurbishment work and renovation work, bump into quite a lot of nails and screws which blunt the blade very quickly. So in a week of demolition or refurbishment using a reciprocating saw, we would probably go through 2 or 3 blades. So getting that blade in and out very easily is very, very important. And that's it. It simply locks into place. Very good. The other good thing that we like about this particular model is that it comes with its own carry case. There's some pockets in there for blades and other bits and pieces that you might need. Keep your phone in there or whatever while you're working. But yeah, it's well thought out, it's well designed, it's light enough to be extremely portable, very, very useful, and with the bag, a great tool to have in your kit. It's available from Screwfix, DIY Doctor likes it. I'm looking forward to adding it to my toolkit.